Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Jessica Henry and I'm so happy to have you with today. Today I have a really fun project. We are going to celebrate the newness of life with spring by painting a butterfly. And I love their symbolism for just the metamorphosis of just newness and new life. So today, gonna do that. And I want to demonstrate how to paint that luminous quality, that shimmering metallic sheen. And so if you're interested in more information on these butterflies, they are all raised in captivity, allowed to live a normal life and then die naturally. And they are mounted then and for us to enjoy forever. So I will have a link below how you can get more information on these butterflies. And if you'd like to have one too, I love them for their symbolism. I keep this one right in my bedroom. Today I'm going to be painting on an 8x10, just a little linen canvas. Okay, and I will show you the colors that I have today. It's our normal palette. I may not be using all of these colors, but I'll show you what I have anyway. Titanium white, cad yellow medium. I probably won't be using cad red medium. Yellow ochre, burnt sienna, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, phthalo green, and alizarin crimson. Now the cobalt blue, because it is not always on my palette, and if you've been following me for a while and you do use my palette and you want to go out and buy a cobalt blue just for this project, if you don't want to spend the higher price tag that cobalt's typically called for, Gamblin makes a line called 1980, and they are so titled because these are the prices for these paints that were made back in 1980. Okay, so they're a little bit lower grade, but Gamblin makes a really good product. I have not been disappointed with the 1980 line. Their regular line has a little bit better paint coverage, and so these have a little bit more filler. But if you just want a cobalt blue for this one project, Gamblin 1980, really reasonably priced. I don't remember what I paid for it, but I know I didn't pay $30 for this tube, which is the normal price. All right, so that is that about paints. Gonna just use regular 2,4,6,8 brushes, may not use them all. I've got a palette knife, I've got my bucket of odorless mineral spirits and a little bit of linseed oil in the cup on my palette. So I'm gonna jump in and get going on this. Also, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I love your comments, so leave a comment below. And I'll also have all kinds of other links down below. I'm just updating you on current videos and different things that we offer through my company, Renaissance Creative Arts. All right, you guys, so let's jump in and get going on this butterfly. Okay, so I'm going to start out with creating sort of a background already that is that color on my canvas to begin with. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow ochre and burnt sienna, and I've got some odorless mineral spirits on my brush. Let's grab a little bit of blue to sort of neutralize that and tone it down a little bit. Now go a little bit darker than what you see, and then because you're going to wipe some of it off. And I like to use this sort of ochre color because it complements the butterfly. It's sort of its opposite. This ochre sienna combination is sort of in the orange family, which is of course the opposite of the blue violet of the butterfly, which really makes it pop out more and will appear more colorful if you use the complement colors. Okay, so that's fine for that. Now I'm going to take my paper towel and just wipe some of that off. The reason I wipe it off is because there's just there's quite a luster and shine created by the thinner. I just want to get that down a little bit. So that's a pretty close image of that. Okay, so now because a lot of that background is going to show, I'm going to make it a little bit interesting and give it some texture that way. I may even take a thin mixture of some blues and just do a little bit of splattering, giving it a little bit of texture that way too. I'm trying not to get it on my frame picture here. This will give it a little bit of textural variation, little color harmony too. I love doing this in some of my backgrounds. I used to do a lot more of this, but it is fun. If you want to play with a little bit of alizarin crimson in that blue mixture, it'll give you some violet, a little bit of purple in there. Okay, let's just see what happens if we do a little bit of thinner into that. Okay, so that's sort of fun. I'm just going to take a little bit of clear now and let some of that clear just sort of work its way down too. And you can, if you feel you get areas too dark, there's nothing that says you can't just do this a little bit and give it a little texture that way. Okay, so all of a sudden we have a really cool painting surface. So I encourage you to try that if you want to have a little fun with your picture. Okay, so now I'm just taking a smaller brush and I'm gonna go right into this inky mixture that I had started with. I'm still using the same paper towel. And I'm gonna put this butterfly a little bit bigger on here than I see it in real life. So assuming that I want it, let's just go right front and center. This is a fun little study. It's not about creating a gorgeous composition or anything. It's just, let's play with these colors and textures. Now, to get something perfectly symmetrical, you want to position yourself directly in front of your canvas. And I am thinking about size and placement and where this should be on here. I don't want it to be too close to the edge. If I do frame it, subtract 1/4 inch from around the edge. And if I go about this big. So let's just give this sort of a top and bottom to work in. So there's where the top of the wings are going to go. And I think that that works fine for the farthest edges this way. Now, if I'm sitting directly in the center, and if you want, you can, get a ruler and divide your little box here and perfectly in half. I'm not going to go that extreme. But you can see I hold my brush way far back so that I can get myself as far away from the canvas as possible so that I can really determine these distances here are the same, and I can look at this distance and make sure it matches this. So sometimes if I were to get up close and start doing this, then all of a sudden I'm drawing, and it's a little bit different when you're laying it in with paint. You can move things around a little bit better. So let's go straight down with this. You can lock your finger on the edge of your canvas and just go, if you lock your hand and then lock your pinky, just freeze everything. Drop your brush down, you can pretty much get a straight line. So we can do that over here too. Locking my pinky. Nothing that says you can't flip your canvas over and get this side too. And then let's just go crazy. We'll go this side too. Okay, so locking my pinky, dropping that down. Okay, so we've got a pretty good rectangle there. And now I'm going to decide how far down the middle of that V is on the top. So just eyeballing it, I'm going to guess we're down about here. And the V, looking at this, one of the things we teach in the academy is to capture these angles accurately, because we use angles in so many areas in our drawing. And so trying to capture that just right. Get yourself straight in front of it. Especially in painting a butterfly, you really do want to get that as accurate as possible. And I see that there's sort of a break in the wing here as it comes, and it slightly curves that way. Okay, so now the sides of the wings don't go straight down, but they angle in a little bit. So let's determine if these wings come and have their joint right there, then that means these are sort of this dividing right here. All right, so we've made ourselves a very simple, in this area, we have that. Same with over here. Comes over here and curves in. Like that. Okay, so now down below, the wings connect to the body right here in the middle. And we've got sort of that neutral gray-brown fawn color there. And before I start drawing how far down it goes, I want to get this angle where the lower portion of the wing separates from the top part, and that appears to be over here, as well as on this side, looking at the background space behind the wing back here. Now I'm going to look at this angle, this upside down V under the butterfly. Comes this way and this way. All right, so then the rest of it is just a simple connecting the dots. Okay, so take a clean brush now and you can get rid of all of these helper lines so that we just have the butterfly. And if you had a really spectacular splashy background that you wanted to keep, be careful when drawing these lines because, you know, right now you're going to lose them. So you can always add that back in at this point, some of those splashes, and I may do that. So wiping my brush off. Okay, so with that adequately erased, I am going to put some of that back in. Grab with the same brush, just grabbing a little bit of blue. Maybe some cobalt. Let's see what happens if we do that. Oh, if you don't have enough thinner in the paint, you have to add a little bit more, just to make it come off the brush. Take another brush, you can do that too if you don't want to get it up in your fingernails. Getting a little bit more thinner in there will make it drip more. That's cool. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so before we get going on the actual butterfly itself, I want to draw paint in the shadow. So we're going to use, so to paint in that shadow, if I focus on it, it seems really dark, but I don't want it to appear too dark. So we're going to make it a little bit light. So I'm starting out with burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and I'm going to use a little bit of linseed oil now, thin that down just a little, grab some yellow ochre, a little more sienna, and then just the smallest amount of white because that will keep it from getting too dark. Let's see where we are. Okay, that's good. All right, so looking at where this shadow comes out from behind that wing, I see it emerging about like that. Now you don't want to make the edges of your shadow too crisp because it'll look cut out. So if you keep them soft and lighter, they'll have more of that feeling of being airy. A little bit more light as they come down this way. And then this one, there's that sharp V there. There are places in this shadow too where the light moves. And if you notice on here, I painted it a little darker, but as it moved down, it got a little lighter. You can see that over here. There's just a little bit, where a little bit more atmosphere gets in there. So coming over here. And keeping my brush strokes clean and simple. Again, it gets a little lighter down here, because just a little bit more air is getting in that area. I'm going to take a little bit of the yellow ochre and white, some of that background color, and we're going to put that in there just to show that there is that separation. Let's come back up here and add a little more too. And up here where the wingtip is going to show that separation from the shadow. That looks neat. Okay, a little down here. Oops. We need a little bit more differentiation there. You can go right over the top of your splashes and dribbles, just a little. Let some of it peek through and some of it go away. And I am starting with the background, of course, on this butterfly, just to help lay in the groundwork for this brilliance to pop through. Okay, so now we've got the other wing on this side, casting a shadow. So where does that start? About here. And that is a little lighter there because it's getting more light and atmosphere behind it. As this curvature comes down towards the center, it gets a little darker this way. So as you saw on my palette, I have different shades mixed up here, different values. So I just jumped right into some of that darker. Just like that. And same thing with down here. Right at the center, we're going to grab that darker value for shadow. And then as it moves towards the light, I just pick up some little bit lighter. That doesn't go down that far. A little bit lighter shadow color. Okay, so coming back over here to get more of that background lighter color, we're gonna put that in place just where I see it in this area. So we're gonna hit this up a little brighter on this side where the light is most intense. So white, yellow ochre. See, already you get that feeling of movement of light in the background there, and you really do want to try to catch that interesting feeling that way. Let's grab a little bit of cad yellow just to really make it feel like it's in a spotlight. Okay, we're not going to use this all over, but just in a few places. Letting some of that just really catch the light and do a little bit of a dance there with the different areas. And maybe just a little bit over here, just to show that a little bit of light hitting this area. And I'm careful every now and then to just make sure that I don't get all of that bright background light color. But remember, it's most intense over here and it's going to move to softer over here, even though I still want it to look lit up. Okay, so there's that. If you've been watching my videos for a few years, you see every now and then I really like to play with the backgrounds. And I like to take some of this thinner and just sort of let colors drip and dribble. And it gives it a fresh feeling, and I really do enjoy that. Just get some of that in there. A little blue, whatever. Put some more lit sunlit color over here. Okay, so that is kind of reading where and how I wanted it to go, so I'm happy with that. Okay, so moving now to the background, or the butterfly, I'm taking some of the darkest areas of the butterfly first, some of this ultramarine blue that I had over here. And I just want to put it in the places where I see the strongest, darkest areas. And letting that just sort of carry through as I see it. over here. I'm going to grab some of that alizarin because I really do see that up in here. And I'm using this, it's a synthetic flat brush, and I like this one today because I can get a really crisp edge. And this is a great study in edges for this butterfly too, because I'm always talking about a sharp edge versus a soft edge. Your sharp edge on this butterfly is going to give you that flat feeling of the wing being crisp against that fuzzy soft background. So make sure that you do have a brush that can give you that clarity. Sometimes people use palette knives on some of these where they want a really sharp edge, and that's okay too. But in this case, I'm just going to make my brush, drag it this way in the paint, flip it over, drag it this way. And if you need a lot of paint on there, then you scoop backwards like that. Okay, so again, I'm stepping back from my canvas and I'm bringing this line straight down to the center. And again, I want to make sure that I didn't lose the symmetry, which I want to double check here. Flick your eye back and forth from wingtip to wingtip very quickly. All right, I think that is pretty symmetrical. I'm going to clean this off, and I just want to get some of this lighter color right on the top here because I think that this shape could be a little better. Okay, that's feeling a little better. Okay, now see how the contrast of this soft shadow right here creates that interesting balance between the crisp, sharp edge. So it really makes this butterfly look like it's popping out in front of this background. Okay, so grabbing a little more ultramarine blue and alizarin, I want to get this contour on this side accurate. So I am crisp, sharp edge on my brush. And there's this delicate, very feminine sort of wave of those wings. I think I need to bring that in, but for now that's okay. I'll come back to it. Okay. So maybe I think what I'll do instead of cleaning my brush all the time is just grab a smaller brush and bring this in just a little. Curve, wipe, scoop. And wipe the brush off. And this is just one way you can keep it kind of cleaner on that edge. Let's scoop some of this up over here. Okay, that feels better. Okay, so I'll keep that brush handy. Okay, now I'm looking towards where the darker area of the wings, grabbing some of that cobalt, where they're not really dark, not the darkest dark, but they are a darker area. So I'm seeing on the inside of this wing over here, it's a little darker, so I grabbed a little bit of, so making sort of a gray blue, so that's why I grabbed a little more sienna and some of this gray that's down below that I used in the shadow. Into this more neutral, darker background of this wing, I'll put those pops and sparkles of bright light. Maybe a little bit of white to that. Just a little. I don't want to get it too heavy. So keeping that a little bit lighter. Like that. Maybe a little bit of cobalt in this passage down below. No, keeping that. Let's go grayer. Now there's this inside here of the, deep inside this butterfly down below, there's that sort of fawn color area. So I'm gonna make sure to get that in, but not at this moment. Okay, now let's get some little more violet on the other side here as this ultramarine blue and alizarin comes up on this side. Oh, a little more white, too dark. Yeah, that's good. And then we come up to the top of this wing here. So by having this soft, darker, neutral background of the actual wings themselves, when you put the sparkly colors on there, they're really going to shimmer and be gorgeous, gorgeous colors. It's like putting one diamond on a black velvet pillow. It stands out more. But if you put 1,000 diamonds, of course you'd be very rich, but you wouldn't notice the one individual. So that is kind of where we're going with this. Let's grab some ultramarine blue. We're going to make, I'm sorry, that was cobalt. A little bit of cobalt and sienna and some of this white here. Down below here, this lower wing has more of that cobalt color in the shadows, that gray. So let's make that a little bit more that tone. I had too much paint on there. I see that a little bit over here too. So these two lower wings down here, a little more cobalt blue, and the top part of the wings have a little more violety purple tones, at least in this area right close to the center. Okay. So let's keep this a little bit lighter over here, and we'll layer other colors on this. Okay, let's come up here and put a little bit more in this darker background, and we'll pop in some highlights on that in a little bit. That'll be fun. Okay, taking some alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. Let's make it a little bit lighter so we can see what we're doing. That's a nice, almost lavender color. Perfect, we need that right over here. This is our base color. So when I'm looking at that butterfly wing, I'm not looking at the lightest colors, I'm looking at the darker underneath. It's very similar to painting water. When I paint water, I try not to look at the sparkles on the surface right away. I look at the colors that are underneath the water surface and paint those first. Okay, so coming over here, squinting down at that butterfly. I know I mentioned in our artist tips for this week in the email newsletter, in the Renaissance Creative Art Tips, to squint at a complicated subject. By squinting at it, you will see it simplifies everything and it sort of flattens it out. So you take a three-dimensional object and you squint at it, and it turns it, especially if you close one eye, it turns it to a flatter area, and then this becomes, seems to make more sense as you start applying color to it. And of course, I'm laying my pieces of paint down in just simple little chunks like that, almost in an impressionistic sort of style. This comes down further. Okay, a little bit of cobalt white, cobalt blue added to that white. Now you can see I'm starting to get my values here a little bit lighter as I'm moving towards refining this butterfly a little bit more. It's still in the medium value tone range. And coming over here, I'm seeing, just grabbing a little bit more of that cobalt blue into this mixture here. Squinting down at this, seeing that there's some, oops, that's too much. Gotta watch how much is on your brush. Sometimes you can get too much and not realize it. I'm gonna play with some thicker paint on this butterfly, but not quite yet. It's too early for that. So that whole rule of fat over lean, thick over thin, that's where if you start getting too much paint on your painting too early, then you're going to have a kind of a headache in trying to manage it and make it work for you. So that was a little too much whiteness in that. I want a little bit more of a violet hue up in here. So you can see I'm getting it a little lighter in this passage as it comes down. Scoop up some more of that. I do love how butterflies represent new life, and I think about, we all go through different transitions in our lives and different chapters. Our lives are like, I've always compared it sort of to like a choose your own adventure book to my kids. I thought we have a lot of choices, and our lives go through a lot of change. And so to me, butterflies really do represent that, and spring too. And we're coming into spring here, and it really is my favorite season. I love fall, apple cider and all that, but when it comes to symbolism and poetry and nature and coming alive and the newness of life, that's spring, and I love that. So it is a celebration today. I mean, it is not March 21st, but you know what? We're feeling it in the air, and it just feels good. And so I really wanted to paint this butterfly today, and just to celebrate that. So you can see I'm just kind of taking some ultramarine blue now, little bits, and going through here just to simplify and unify. I want to try to get rid of some of these background passages that are still peeking through, and start seeing this as it comes together as a unified whole, with its pieces still playing important parts, but letting them start to be unified. And I do like that this lower wing on this butterfly has sort of a transparent quality, so I'm going to try to get some of that in there when I get over there. This passage in here. Just a softness to this side. Seems very understated. Okay, cleaning this off. I do want to get some of that fawn color right in there. And why am I not painting that passage? I need to paint that passage. First, let's get this fawn color, and then I'll go figure out why I'm ignoring an area. Okay, a little bit of burnt sienna and some of that ultramarine, or some of that white yellow ochre mixture. Lay it down, swipe, and pick up. Okay, let's grab a little bit of blue into that, just to gray it a little bit more. Lay it down, swipe, and pick up. A little bit up in here, a little lighter. I wanted some of that white cream color in the middle there. A little bit on this side. I'm just going to pick up a little more of this accent dark in here, because I see it sort of almost identifying the edge of that wing, like that. Nice crisp. We'll make that a little sharper over here. All right, so I want to take a little bit of this lighter shadow color that I had at the beginning and just clean that edge there a little bit more. Actually, it's right in here. The cool thing about oil painting is if you put a brush stroke in a wrong area, it is so easy to fix. So I like that shadow there being a little bit lighter like that. And then let's come back through here and fix my mistake of right here. I put a brush stroke I didn't mean. Right over the top, gone. All right, so what is my deal with that? I'll get that side going. Stepping back, looking at the symmetry here. I'm comparing the two sides back and forth. Whoops. Checking this side. All right, now there's a little bit of lighter shadow right behind this wing, and I need that to pop a little more. Okay, that's better. All right, so I think the shape of that wing is reading a little better, so we're going to pull the shadow up closer. And then this background needs help. Moving this down a little more. Get some more yellow ochre over here so it has more of that. There we go. Okay, we're getting closer. Now, what we're going to do is mix up some of our more brighter, vibrant colors. Squinting down at this butterfly, I'll move this palette over a little more, like that. I want to get all those bright purple passages in place. So let's get some alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. And I'll just paint those colors together with some white. Now, if you want to pick up a tube of cobalt violet, 1980 Gamblin makes that one as well. I do have the non-cheap variety, so I may play with some of that a little bit, but laying the corner of my brush down, I'm just going to squint and see where I see some of these more vibrant passages in here. That is not showing up, so we'll grab a little more white into that. And just laying the corner of my brush and streaking like that. Just a little like that. Okay, so we're going to do that over here. And up here. Squinting down at this butterfly, wherever you see one of those passages. And a lot of people have these butterflies already in their homes or whatever. And so if you have one, this is a fun exercise to try sometime. I'll mix up another pile. Down here we've got passages of these bright, vibrant areas. Another one. Let's get some more white in there. All right, so that's starting to provide the base for some of these brighter passages of brilliant color. I'm also going to, I had this brush before that I was using for smaller spots. There's these spots up on the wingtips that are, I'm just using this background neutral color here. And let's just add those little spots as I see them right there. And then a little one right on the edge. And over here, well, let's make this a little oval. Okay. And then over here, there's one. Make sure to keep your head straight. I often find that I'm tipping my head, so I want to really make sure that that ends up being straight and square. I want that a little bit whiter and not quite so yellow ochre right here. Now there's a few little spots on the wings here that have a little bit of that. And you can just kind of set your hand down here if you want, or get another brush or a mahl stick. Oops, too much. I'll come back and soften that. Clean that up. And you wipe your brush off and you can just scoop some of that up. Just like that, super easy. And there's a little down the middle too. Okay, and then there's just a few little suggested colored spots up in here. And then on the wing curves themselves. Over here. Not really so much over here, but I see it sort of a crack in this wing, which looks really neat. And just do it like that. Okay, so now I'm going to come through with the same little brush and just pull out some accentuated, darker violet tones right in this area down here. And down here. Pick up a little bit of this blue. So a lot of you have been asking about our episode for the Put Some Color in Your Life. That is live, and we're so excited. It's breaking records for viewership. That's pretty cool. So I'll put a link to that below. You can watch that show. It's really exciting. If you go to their website, Put Some Color in Your Life website, you can see more information on our Australian workshop, and that is really cool. We're excited about that. That's going to be fantastic. I mean, that's like 2 days of it will be in a studio, so you can go just to those 2 days, unless you want to join along with on the Outback tour. That one is 14 days around Australia. And we're going to be painting plein air and petting kangaroos and koala bears and wrestling crocodiles and stuff. Okay, well, I won't be wrestling well, maybe I will. Because it's fun, so whatever. Okay, so getting fussy here. I don't want to do that because I want to keep this fresh and alive. Let's clean this brush off. I want to get that nice chiseled brush again, cleaning this off. What I'm going to do now is get into that cobalt blue. Before I do that, I think I'm going to clean a spot off on my palette right here in the middle so you can see what I'm doing better. Okay, so let's get some cobalt blue, nice big chunk of it, and some white. We're gonna really make this sparkle now. Okay, cobalt blue and white, just like that. Now, this is the part where you can really throw it all away because it's so much fun to do this. So you have to be very careful. And just careful. Okay, I'm not even breathing, so I'm not going to talk at this moment, but select, commit, lay the brush down, swipe, and lift off. That's how I'm making these shimmers here. Okay, and then get a little more paint down here. I want to go upwards because I see that this swipe fades more up in the middle, so it makes sense to me that my swipe goes that way. Like that. So I'll pick up and do a little bit over here. And I want to soften this a little bit more here. Okay, we've got just some tiny little over here. Okay, now I'm going to get into a little bit of this ultramarine blue to get some of these over on this side. Nice even mixture. Scoop it up, flat, 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 scoop, like that. Come over here. I'm going to just lay down some of these passages like this. Like that. And down here. And there's a little bit down here that maybe a little bit lighter. So we also have some other workshops that I'll be doing. I did have a spot open up in Ireland. So if anybody's interested in that, that's a first come, first serve. If you're interested, you know, shoot me a comment or a message or however you want to communicate that you'd be interested in that spot. It's $450 for 5 days of workshop instruction. You get your own lodging, your own meals and all that, but that is, that one filled up really fast, and so that's going to be a wonderful workshop. So I'm excited about that. That's July 1 through 5 this year, 2019. And then, but we also have, I'll be teaching in England, and that's plein air and Victorian watercolor. All of these are on my website, jessicahenryfineart.com. And then San Diego. And that one is $300 for 2 days, September 14th and 15th. I'm not sure how full that one is yet. So if you're interested in these, don't hesitate, because they're not going to be open for long. I'm grabbing a little bit more ultramarine blue here because I want that to have a little bit more of that going on there. Okay, getting there. A little bit, taking some alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue. Just want some of this vibrant violet tone. I may get some cobalt violet on here because you can't quite get that brilliant, yeah, it's not working. I'm gonna use some cobalt violet. So get your tube if you have this one. If not, don't worry about it. You may be painting an entirely different butterfly. So that's cool. Cobalt violet. Let's get some white so we can push that a little bit more, because by itself it's fairly dark. Okay, so laying this in, let's get it up here where I see that. Just do some straight out of the tube cobalt right here. Trying to get that connected feeling down this side of the shimmer of the wing. Okay, a little bit more cobalt violet in this area too. And you can see too the paint that I'm laying down is getting a little bit thicker as well. Okay, and then over here, taking some cobalt blue and just laying down some really beautiful, clean, rich, jewel-like pieces of paint. Just like that. That's pretty. And remember, you are creating a work of art on canvas. It does not have to replicate that nature perfectly, but just bear in mind that this is what hangs on the wall. Well, I guess that does too, but if you want to just sort of create that beautiful work of art. And let some of that kind of fade away a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take and just put a little bit more of a darker shadow triangle behind some of these things here, just a little bit, because I noticed that this needs to have a little bit darker, whoops, darker area right here. Let's get some more sienna in there. And then down below. All right, now you can soften and lose some of these edges. Just create this really beautiful effect of shimmering luminosity. And flick them. Just a little. You don't want to lose some of the integrity of those sharper edges, but you want to soften and blend and marry your object to the background. Okay, and that is a wrap. All right, so I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today, and if you enjoyed this video, to like and subscribe. Also remember that down below are all those links that I mentioned in this video. All right, so I hope you enjoy this one, and join our email newsletter for next week if you want the printout and the tips and techniques from Renaissance Creative Art Tips. All right, you guys, have a great week. Bye-bye.